This is Majo John Madden broadcasting from Victoria, Ciudad Victoria, Tamaulipas State, Mexico, behind the Hampton Inn, right near the spot where our broken down van sat for a week. Just the other side of where this white truck is where our van was for a week. So this is where we lived for 7 or 8 of the 18 days we were with Pepe until 2 nights ago. Pepe died yesterday, and Pepe's last few hours on Earth are quite well documented in videos because I just almost obsessively document our life and our travels. So the first video was filmed pretty much right here, maybe just a couple spots over, and shows Pepe playing happily, dragging Magic's leash around. Grieving in dogs is a mystery to me. I don't know how Magic is processing all that, but he went in 18 days from resenting the intrusion of the little puppy in our lives to loving Pepe very deeply, playing mother, giving Pepe tongue baths and stuff. And then there's about 9 other videos, 8 or 9 other videos that document the whole process of losing Pepe in the big field and then finding Pepe dead in the field, and me spending a half hour not believing he was dead and trying very desperately to get him to come back to life. Notice how attentive Magic is to the night. The whole thing's got me reminiscing about other dogs in my life. And about 4 dogs ago was Buddy. And I'm going to tell the story about Buddy. I had moved to the country. In 2004, I moved to Asheville, North Carolina. A broken man after 15 years of being misdiagnosed as bipolar, crushed from that diagnosis. Well, the actual pain that I had been experiencing could have been resolved had I had a chance to grieve it. Boy, Magic heard something that made him really pop up alive. But it never did get resolved. Got treated as an illness, and I got stuck with these horrendous life-crushing drugs. And I limped along for 15 years before getting to Asheville, and another 15 years in Asheville. So I lived my first 3 years in Asheville in a boarding house because my capacity to earn an income had been kind of destroyed. I had been quite a successful professional before I went through all that. And the combination of the way that my self-confidence and self-esteem had been broken by being given an erroneous diagnosis of bipolar disorder. Wow, I'm a psychologist and here I am with a mental illness. And then the drugs kept me from being able to function very well. So I didn't make much money for 30 years. It was 30 years that I could have been making. At one point I was making $100,000 a year, and I wasn't capable of doing anything like that. And I embraced when I went to Asheville. I said, let's just be the working class hero I was always meant to be, because I was raised real working class. So I did all frontline customer service jobs. But 3 years into Asheville, after 3 years in that boarding house, living in one room, no dog there, couldn't have worked very well, really, I got a disability settlement. So that was kind of a little consolation prize from having my life destroyed. I got some money. And I moved out to the country. And there's fabulous mountains all around Asheville. Asheville is on the spine of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and 2,500 feet. But when you get out into the country, there are peaks that are around 6,000 feet. And I moved out in an area where there was a big national wilderness area out there and many 6,000-foot peaks. And out in the country, people started saying to me, gee, you need a dog. You know, you're in the country now. Out of the city, you ought to get a dog. And I agreed, because I've always loved dogs. And it's been quite a while, actually, since I had one. And I kept saying, well, I'm not going to go looking for a dog. The right dog will come to me at the right time. And one did. One did. I heard through the grapevine about a woman who had to give up her dog. Sketchy situation. She moved into an apartment where she couldn't keep him. But why she did that was not clear. And in the whole process of adopting Buddy, I found out she wasn't much of a mom to him. She was a very not nurturing woman. She told me twice during the couple of days that I was adopting Buddy, don't give him too much attention. He does better if you don't. Just kind of leave him alone. And I thought to myself, how crazy is that? Dogs love attention. Dogs need attention. They thrive on attention. So I made a mental note to myself. I didn't argue with her, but I worried about what her child's life had been like, if that's what she believed about nurturing a little one. When I visited where he had been living with her, his space in the house was one little towel just inside the door. That's as much of the house as he was privy to. He had to lay on that one little towel and not go anywhere else in the house. So when he got out to my 3-room, nice roomy country 3-room house, not a grand house, but a nice little house, and had the run of the house, he was like delirious, like, holy cow. But he was so damaged from never having been given love that he wouldn't ask for love. He never asked for it. 6 months. It took 6 months for him to come to me in my little house. And I was doing work at my computer, and I realized he was standing next to me. And I looked over, and I realized he was asking to be petted. And I dropped everything and gave him love. And from then on, I made a real commitment. Anytime this little being asks for love, he's going to get it from me. And there was a period where he was going through a process that I called getting mental, where he'd get so thrilled with all the petting I was giving him that he'd just start flop on his back and start twitching around like he was having an epileptic seizure. He was just beyond himself with happiness. Now, what was reminding me about him right here is, so he lived out in the country. He wanted to be outside in the warm weather. He wanted to be outside all night, every night. And one night I just went out and sat with him out in the yard to see what he was up to. And I realized, gee, I don't think he sleeps all night. He would smell and listen and look. He was just so excited about nighttime, when the whole earth has gotten quiet and everything is different. He'd never bark. Even if a truck drove by or came into our little compound of several houses. No, never bark. He just was out there being with the night. And I've always said I learned an awful lot from him and from each of my dogs about how to be with the night, how to be with the earth. Just be. Just not have to do anything, but just be alive. The animals, dogs, are so alive. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for having Pepe. I told the staff at the desk, the whole hotel has been grieving the loss of that adorable little puppy, that I went through a grieving workshop outside of Asheville, way out in the country, very skilled facilitator, African communal tradition of shared grief, support for going deep in your grief. And I was grieving the loss of a dear friend who had died tragically way too young. And I screamed and cried, and it was appropriate there. There was lots of support for it. And I ended up very peaceful. And that's how I am tonight. And I think that's how magic is tonight. Peaceful. Thank you.